Thanks for joining us. I'm Alex Bell, and this is To the Point. Wildfire outbreaks are synonymous with drought right here in California. And we know that the two create a vicious and deadly cycle. Native American tribes have worked with the land to lessen the effects for thousands of years, and one of those ways being planned cultural burns. But they haven't been allowed to practice them as often as they like because of federal laws. In part 2 of our 2-part series, Tribal Traditions, The Burning Battle, Carly Gomez shows us it's not just homes being lost, but entire ways of life.
When fire burns through an area, it chews up the forest and destroys the trees and underbrush that holds all the dirt and rock in place. That happened about a week ago near a place called Happy Camp.
The Karuk tribe's Aboriginal land makes up about 1 million acres. As wildfires roar through the Siskiyou and Klamath National Forests, tribal members are witnessing different ways of life from what they learned through their ancestors. Tribal member Kenneth Brink, also known as Binks, knows this all too well.
Yeah, I lived on the Klamath River and for 45 years. Other than going to school and I've lived here pretty much all my life. Being tribal, growing up as a ceremonial person, being involved with our traditional ways. People along the river would start burning their little piles because we knew fire was coming. We knew that we had to manage our land. We had to do fuels reductions.
Binks has seen his fair share of fires, floods, and destruction.
In California, the McKinney Fire is raging out of control.
Just this year, the McKinney Fire experienced a major landslide after thunderstorms dumped heavy rain over a burn scar. The Klamath River didn't fare well.
Friday I go out and I see thousands and thousands of dead fish. So it's like a big old plume moving through of zero oxygen and killing everything in its way. I mean, it's hard to say what lived and what didn't.
Working with the U.S. Department of Natural Resources Fisheries Division, Binks saw it all firsthand.
What hits home with those fish is that a lot of people will be like, oh, that's not a salmon, it's just a sucker, right? But they're very important. These fish are very old. They don't mature for like 10 years. So they can't reproduce for a decade. And they get up to be like 20, 30 years old. So they're like our elders of our river.
Fish to the Karuk tribe are precious.
It was really a combination of fire exclusion and poor forest management. Layer on top of that, the freak weather that comes from global warming, and you get a fish kill.
I've worked fisheries for 20 plus years now, and I've fished all my life, and I've watched our tributaries dry up, our fish almost go extinct.
Previously a firefighter and now working with fisheries, Binks says he's been on both sides of the aisle, and it all comes down to money over preservation.
Now, it's not a gold rush, it's what I call a fire rush. So they see this timber burning, these mountains burning, and they see dollar signs in their eyes. And I know this because, like you're saying, I was a firefighter. As a young firefighter, I thought, yes, the forest is burning, that's money.
CAL FIRE says a state emergency fund is used to pay overtime in these big fires. Local agencies responding to these fires say they get 1.5 times their pay on top of their normal hours.
Inappropriate things get done with the land because we've seen that for the past 150 years. So I really think if we're going to survive global warming and come up with new systems that make this place inhabitable, we're going to have to listen to the wisdom of Native people.
But allowing tribal burns takes permission.
A lot of times that root causes state and federal law, that it made it illegal to do these things, made it criminal to be an indigenous person managing our landscape.
The U.S. Forest Service admits when their agency started in the 1800s, they misunderstood the role fire played on the landscape.
They thought that they were protecting the trees. And, forestry is one of those things that it takes a long time to see the mistakes.
Stephen Fillmore, a regional fuels operations specialist for the Pacific Southwest region of the U.S. Forest Service, says they're excited for more programs like the National Cohesive Wildland Fire Management Strategy to help with the issue. The plan would work across tribal, federal, state, and local governments as a way to, quote, effectively manage landscapes.
We're, of course, as a government agency, we have to have people to manage those contracts, people to do the environmental planning to make sure that the habitat isn't, or archaeological concerns aren't damaged. So it's really an all hands. We just need more of the people to do the work.
But right now, it's all just a strategy plan. New programs, laws, and funding can take years. The Karuk tribe needs emergency action now.
So they actually criminalized all this stuff, so we go to jail for burning. We go to jail for protecting ourselves.
For some communities like Karuk, like their Aboriginal homeland has really been stolen by the United States Forest Service. And so this has a lot of consequences, but one of those is that Karuk people can't find a place to live in their own homelands because over 97% of their homeland is Forest Service land. So, I think federal agencies like the Forest Service are going to have to give land back to tribes so that they can live in their homelands and manage them properly.
Erin Hillman and her family are picking up the pieces of their lives and, with insurance, are fortunate enough to rebuild.
I raised my children in this house. They grew up here, they went to their first days of high school here, they had their graduation parties, their proms. This is my home.
It's taken 2 years to build, but this time they're taking further precautions.
The actual siding is a fire-resistant siding, and there will be another layer of some wrap, and then there will be some sheeting under that.
During our interview, a burn patch could be seen in the yard.
Is that a fire? Yeah, that was, I thought that maybe somebody threw a cigarette out or something. That scared the heck out of me yesterday.
Right there. Just goes to show how incredibly fast a small area of grass can burn with very little fuel.
And what would make me feel comfortable would be if we had a 2 to 3 mile wide barrier around our communities of just clean, clear, treated forest, right?
But the history and precious heirlooms her family owned for generations will never be returned.
From tribal member to tribal member's home, there are all these things that were passed down over, generations that we don't have. Photographs, documentation of people that are no longer with us, baskets, regalia. Just the losses are heartbreaking.
As the Karuk have witnessed, just about everything has a cause and effect.
Traditionally, as a Karuk person, we know that management has to be done for everything. It cannot be just timber, it cannot be just fire, and it cannot just be fish.
Now the phrase, "it takes a village," is hitting even closer to home.
Pikyawish, it means to fix the world. Not fix my tribe or fix me or just fix just our place, but we know that the world rotates on a harmonious balance, on an axis. So when things are bad here, they're bad on the other side too. And that's how the world works. So we pray for the whole world in our ceremonies.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but stick around because Carly Gomez will be back with us to talk a little bit more about cultural burning. Welcome back. Before the break, we saw part 2 of our series, Tribal Traditions, The Burning Battle. Main takeaway, the effects of wildfires would not have been as severe if the Karuk tribe was able to continue to practice their cultural burns. So, Carly, I do want to ask you, how many burns do they get to do now, at least?
Yeah, they strive for an annual to biannual burning, and, that's part of a training program they have going. Now, a Stanford research paper does show that they have been able to do about 5 to 7, about average per year, but really just depends on the drought conditions. If the U.S. Forest Service says it's better this year than it is in previous years, and they may be able to burn a little bit more.
And how many burns ideally would they like to do?
Yeah, I mean, they've done as many as 15 to up to 30 traditionally past and thousands of years back. That's how many they're used to doing, or knowing that they've done is about 30 a year.
And I do want to ask you, after seeing all that video, what does the Klamath River look like now?
Yeah.
Has it recovered at all?
It has recovered. I stood there. I mean, the smell, it was so bad.
Overwhelming?
Overwhelming.
Oof.
I mean, it was one of those things, you can smell the rot happening. And now we've noticed that it has actually started to clear up. The murkiness is looking better. You know, obviously there's less fish right now, but they're hoping there's going to be more population growth by the spring.
All right, Carly, thank you. We appreciate it. If you missed anything, of course, you can always catch it on our YouTube.